Greetings, my relatives. My name is Dr. Johnny Gonzalez Chavez III. In our last episode, we explored the legal architecture that redefined indigenous nations as domestic dependent nations. But systems of control are never satisfied with just land and law. To ensure the permanent erasure of a people, a system must target the future, the children. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the United States embarked on a policy of forced assimilation through the Indian boarding school system. This was not an educational initiative, it was a weaponized tool of cultural genocide. Today we look at the reality of the institutions designed to kill the Indian and save the man. The blueprint for this system began with Richard Henry Pratt, a former military officer who founded the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in 1879. Pratt's philosophy was simple and brutal. He believed that by removing children from their homes, their languages, and their traditions, they could be civilized into the American labor force. The federal government adopted this model rapidly. By 1900, there were over 350 government-funded boarding schools across the country, often run by the military or religious organizations. The objective, as stated by the Commissioner of Indian Affairs in 1889, was to break the back of tribal life by ensuring the next generation forgot who they were. The process of erasure began the moment a child arrived at these institutions. Their traditional clothing was burned. Their long hair, which in many cultures holds deep spiritual significance, was forcibly cut. Most significantly, they were given English names and strictly forbidden from speaking their native languages. The physical distance was entirely intentional. Children were often sent hundreds or even thousands of miles away from their families to prevent them from running home. Communication with parents was heavily censored or blocked altogether. For many children, the boarding school was a place of extreme isolation, forced manual labor, and harsh corporal punishment. According to the Department of the Interior's Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative, many schools utilize systematic discipline to enforce assimilation, and thousands of children died while in the custody of these institutions. By the 1920s, the failure and structural cruelty of this system became impossible to ignore. In 1928, a landmark study known as the Merriam Report was published. This 800-page document exposed the horrific conditions within the schools, detailing chronic malnutrition, overcrowded dormitories, and the rapid spread of deadly diseases like tuberculosis. The Merriam Report concluded that the boarding school system was not only inhumane, but had failed to provide students with the skills needed to survive in either the American economy or their own communities. While the report led to some institutional reforms, the system itself persisted for decades. It was not until the passage of the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 that Native parents finally gained the legal right to refuse their children's placement in these schools. The boarding school era left a legacy of deep intergenerational trauma that many families are still actively navigating today. But the story did not end with erasure. Despite nearly a century of institutionalized pressure to disappear, indigenous cultures, languages, and identities survived. Today, we see the reclamation of what was stolen. We see the truth being told openly and honestly. Because as we have learned throughout this series, you cannot fix what you refuse to face. I am Dr. Johnny Gonzalez Chavez III, and this is Broken Promises. Join us next time for Episode 5, Sovereignty in the 21st Century.